Hello, rookie van expediter watchers, people looking for information on what it's like to become a van expediter, brand new off the street, not knowing too much about it other than what's been glorified on Facebook pages and what you've read about it and stuff like that. Today's report is about more whining, right? People view honesty about your situation, especially when I'm trying to be clear about what I don't want to. No one needs to have something glorified that they're going to find out that they were lied to. They don't like. No one needs to hear an incessant complainer. So there's a balance somewhere. A lot of people think that when I make these videos, and what I talk about here is complaining, and if that's you, so be it. But today we've got complaints from the complaint department. I am getting frustrated. Why am I getting frustrated? Because I'm sitting here waiting, and waiting sucks, and it's getting uncomfortable. It's getting uncomfortable gut-wise with eating. It's getting uncomfortable exercise-wise. It's getting uncomfortable sleep-wise. It's getting uncomfortable temperature-wise. Why am I sitting here? Because I'm waiting once again on border paperwork. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Apparently, getting a piece of paper filled out, there's got to be, I'm sure there's a big deal behind the scenes I don't know about. People got to talk to people. People got to find out things. Someone's got to talk to someone who's not in an office, something like that. And there ends up being a delay in being able to create a piece of paper that I print out in my printer here in the van so that I can go cross the border and get on my way. Where's on my way? I've got this great load to Laredo, Texas. I'm excited because that's a lot of miles. It's a tough drive. It's not easy. It's a lot of gas out of my pocket, but it's good money in my pocket. For the 2 days it'll take me to accomplish this, I'll make about 3 days worth of money, probably even 4 days, if not 5 days worth of days on a construction crew that's a small little home improvement crew that didn't work really long days ever. We worked days, but anyways, so I'm just apparently I stopped over at the office last night. First of all, if you're out of the blue here, you won't know anything about this. When you go pick up a load from a shipper, you get paperwork. You instantly take that paperwork and get it sent over to the office there because they need to contact the broker who contacts the Department of Homeland Security and sends back some paperwork that we receive that clears us to cross the border. Without that paperwork, we don't cross the border. We can't cross the border. We're stopped there. So that's what you need. It usually takes about 2 to 3 hours. Now, most of these pickups are about 2 or 3 hours from the border. So as long as I instantly send the paperwork, by the time I get to the border, I have paperwork to print out from my phone. It's in my email, and I can go do my thing. This happened once before already, where I was only 2 hours from the border, so I expected there to be a small delay. It turns out that I was able to sleep all night because the paperwork wasn't showing up, and around 9 a.m., there it was. In this situation, it's going on 10:43, and I haven't heard about any paperwork showing up yet. And no one, once again, said, hey, I don't think paperwork's going to show up. Why don't you get some sleep? I got lucky, and because I was tired, I said, I'm sleeping. I'm not moving. And I did sleep. Now, today's sleep, that day, it was freezing cold, but in my normal bed. Today wasn't as cold, but there's a giant crate in the back of my van, and you can see that blue thing at the top there is my mattress sitting on top of some customer's crate, and that's pretty typical. You just move your bunk over to their stuff, and if you get lucky and it's not all some lumpy thing, you get a reasonable bed to sleep on. So it wasn't that bad, all considering. So Um, just a side note: if you have always slept in a super comfortable bed, you may not like van expediting. I've always been a poor guy in small studio apartments, and I've just thrown a mattress on the floor for the last few years. So, bed frames I think were overrated, and so I always just had a bed on the floor. I thought it was fun. Um, so this thin little mattress here on a bunk isn't as bad comparatively. It wasn't as much of a shock to me suddenly sleeping there every night. So here I am sitting waiting. The temperature, I just had to start the van. I just couldn't take sitting in here anymore in the cold. Now, oh, there's a pretty girl outside. I didn't smile at, but I could go inside one of these businesses, but it's a Taco Bell. I just went inside the grocery store here. I'm sitting in a plaza. I didn't know where else to go. Just a mile or two from the border. There's a Planet Fitness in town, but by the time I get there, it's 4 miles back in the other direction. By the time I get there, probably get the paperwork to go to the border. If I was there, I would have been able to be exercising and taking a shower and warm right now, not running my van. So that would have been a bonus, but nope, not happening. If I go inside any of these food places, I'll buy food. I went inside the Fresh Company store, which I was not impressed with, and still ended up buying a pack of walnuts, which was a snack for the road. I started eating them in the van. I ate them with some soup I have, and had a nice tasty meal. But now I'm full. Nothing to munch on while I drive, so that'll be boring. And it'll probably save me money and calories from getting a crappy fast food meal from the popular fast food place right over there. But last night we splurged on a Little Caesars pizza while we waited in the parking lot. So you'll splurge on food when you're sitting around, unless you're really disciplined like that. There's not much else to do. So, break out the guitar. I've got a guitar lesson I could give, but that's just a whole bunch of. I might actually do that. I don't know. So that's the deal. I'm gonna leave you with that to keep this video in reasonable uploadable length. I'm waiting at the border for paperwork. We'll update you when we're on the way to Laredo. I'd like to get there and get this started. And one other thing, I'm not going to speed or rush now. This is all taking away from my time to be down the road and getting balanced sleep as I drive. Now they think I'm going to, I was going to do 8-hour stretches, 4 or 5 hours, another 8 hours, 4 or 5 hours, another 8 hours, and be there and right on time. Now, if they think I'm going to pull 12-hour stretches, and if they think I'm going to speed across country, they got another thing coming. I definitely do flow with traffic when I drive, and that sometimes means that I'm kicking above tempo with the van at a speed a little bit in the zone where it would raise the interest of police. And so sometimes, though, I use that kind of sense we all have about when it's cool and when it's not cool to do so. And I try to keep a balance in there, and I try not to be obvious and excessive in a way that's going to easily get me pulled over and get me a ticket for speeding. So, that being said, there's more of a opportunity to do that when the pressure's not on, when there's, you're just supposed to go from random A to random B, and all of a sudden you're blasting down some random highway, and it's during hours where there's not a lot of traffic anyways, not a lot of need for patrols on the highway, so then there's a little bit more leeway. But when you're under suddenly, this load should get there at this time, and don't go across where, okay, go now at the last minute, and then you think you're gonna zip across all sorts of towns through Middle America. You're live bait for a ticket, so that's not happening. I'm gonna definitely keep my idea on just keeping a regular pace, let the speeders speed ahead of me, and keeping my own, and getting good gas mileage. I want some better gas mileage on this trip, especially since we've been sitting here idle and burning up gas in the van. Another thing is, I don't want to fill up in Canada. I want to get across the border to fill up my gas where it's cheaper. And I know there's a Flying J 35 miles down to 75. So it says I've got 124. When I turn it on again, it's probably going to be about 118. And so, I mean, that's all just ticking down to the point where, I'm going to have to get some gas here before I go. You've got to be careful. A lot of the gas stations in Canada, excuse me, you can't use your Comdata card at. You're going to have to use your own credit card. Putting your own credit card in a whole bunch of random pumps across the United States is a good way to find yourself with identity fraud or somebody breaking into your account because there was one of those chip readers or whatever there was on one of the there was a scam going on at one of the gas stations. It's not out of the question, and you're ripe for doing that. When you live in your own small town and you go to the same old gas station all the time, then it's a little different. So that being said, I'm going to leave you with all those ideas today, folks. You definitely got to, think about, watch these videos and find out the real deal about van life, how it really works out here on the road. And yeah, okay, we'll talk to you soon.